Welcome to this episode of Home Built Workshop. Today, we're gonna get this guitar finished up. So this is gonna be the fourth and final video of the process of putting this guitar together. I'll put some links down in the description to those other videos that I mentioned in case you want to go back and see how I did this along the way. So the process that I'm going to use here is I'm going to wet sand and polish the back, the sides, and the top, and then I'm going to go ahead and get this thing assembled. First step, polishing. I'm going to start right out with a really high grit. This is a P2000 wet dry sandpaper. It's Velcro backed, so I can attach it right to my random orbit sander. I'll start by masking off the control cavity. The only reason for this is to try to keep some of the moisture out of that cavity. I've got a spray bottle filled with water and a little bit of dish soap. This will act as a lubricant and help keep the sandpaper from gumming up. The finish on this is already really flat. There's just some specks and things that I need to buff out. I'm not going to worry about going through a lot of grits while I'm wet sanding this because I spent a lot of extra time leveling the top in between coats of clear so that it's already pretty flat. My goal with that process was hopefully to eliminate all the extra sanding during this process. Once I sand it for just a little bit, I'm going to stop and wipe it off. This is going to reveal some shiny spots, which will tell me where I need to sand just a little bit more. So far it's pretty even, a little bit around this edge and this edge. Overall, everything else looks pretty even. I'll sand the control cavity cover and the sides of the guitar using a cork back sanding block. And there's always those last few curves that you can't really get in there with a sanding block, so you just do it by hand. After I started this, I probably should have started with more like 1,000 grit. Would have gone a little bit quicker, but the results still be the same. Just takes me a little bit longer. This part makes me nervous because I'm always afraid that I'm gonna sand through the finish and get into the color and have to start over. So my thinking is that if I start with a 2000, it's gonna take longer to sand through and I can monitor the progress a little better, but it usually ends up taking longer. So now I've got everything sanded, it's nice and smooth, but the gloss is not quite there. We've sanded away some of the gloss when you're sanding the surface like that, so we need to bring that gloss back. To do that, I'm going to use these SureBuff buffing pads. You've seen me use these before. I've used them in several videos, and it's basically a buffing pad that's Velcro backed that I can attach to my random orbit sander. These things are really cool. The last step I use in polishing is bringing the shine to its final gloss by hand by polishing it with a rag. And that is a nice shine. Now I can start putting everything together. I usually try to start out with the string ferrules on the back. I'm using a little bit of masking tape to protect the finish while I install the components on the top. This will allow me to make some marks on the body so I know where to drill some mounting holes. Now I'm going to use just a couple of spare strings that are kind of close to what's going to go on this thing, and I'm going to string this up just roughly to help me get the alignment and the bridge and pickups and everything in the right spot. To make sure that the pickups are spaced the same amount from the bridge and from the neck, I've just made up this little spacer block that I can just drop in there, and that will locate the pickups right where they need to be and help make sure everything stays nice and straight. And this is the exact reason I wanted to build that stool. Link in the description if you haven't seen it. And that wraps up the wiring. Just pop that control plate back on there, and I realized I got to get some screws for that, but for now it's good. I've got it connected to a small practice amp just so we can test this out. Start off with a bridge position. We have clicking. Switch to the neck. Clicking. Let's try our coil split. Coil split works there. Back to the bridge. And we're in business. I'm gonna get some strings on this and do a really rough setup. I'll be right back, and let's see what this thing does. So I've got it strung up and I got it partly set up. It's not complete, perfect yet, but it is playable, just to make sure we have sound. Everything works fine. That is the bridge pickup. The neck pickup, nice and warm. Both of them. I installed a push-pull pot on the volume, which will split both the neck and the bridge pickup to single coil. Now keep in mind that I'm only using this little tiny practice amp. It doesn't really sound all that great. It's just for some sound. It is not really a good representation of how really any guitars I own sound through here, but I just keep it out here to use for setups and that sort of thing. Since that practice amp doesn't really sound very good, I figured I would get a better idea of how it sounds by bringing this inside and plugging it in. The processor that I'm using is a Boss GT Pro. It is the processor that I use for all of my live cover band gigs. I'm not playing through an amp or anything. I'm just going straight into the GT Pro and then into my computer. So let's give it a listen. We'll start off with the bridge pickup. Switch to the neck. We'll try the coil split on the neck pickup. And the coil split on the bridge pickup. And finally, let's give it a little test on some distortion, see how it sounds with these really hot Invader pickups. It's got a lot of sustain. It holds that note for quite a while. And now let's just see what it might sound like in a mix. I'm using a backing track for one of the songs that my cover band does. A song you might recognize, but let's just do a little snippet and see what it sounds like. So hopefully that gives you somewhat of an idea of how this guitar sounds. So guys, thank you so much for following along with the different videos that I've been working on for this project. Finally, I am gonna put the stamp on this one and call it complete. Now, because the question comes up a couple of times every time I do the polishing process, I'm gonna put links down below in the description to the buffing pads and the Velcro back sandpaper that I used, and you can check that out if you're interested in getting some. So if you guys have any questions on any of the components that I installed on here, please let me know. I have all the packages which have all the part numbers and everything on it for every single piece that I put on this guitar. So just let me know if it's something you're interested in, and I can get that information posted on my website for you to check out. Just a quick rundown on some of the specs on this guitar. The body is made out of mahogany. The top is quilted maple. It has a maple neck with a rosewood fretboard, Goto tuners, Seymour Duncan Invader pickups, CTS volume pot, and Switchcraft switch and output jack. And finally, the last piece, the bridge. This is a hip shot bridge. It's no tremolo or anything. It's a hardtail bridge, and this is my first time using this bridge, and so far just doing some initial setup. I really like this bridge. It seems really solid. It's really well made, so I'm kind of looking forward to trying that out. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a big old thumbs up. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you did enjoy it. Also, another thing that you can do to help out is share the video. Sharing really helps promote the video and promote the channel. So go ahead and share this video on your social media. I would really, really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Well, it is now time to get this guitar together. Hey look, that matches my shirt. I can't even see it on the screen. Probably should wear a different shirt, huh? As I just bang it on the bench and scratch the back. At least it's the back. Shake well before using.